Welcome back everybody. Today's tutorial is quite different to anything I've done before because we're doing a very rosy, flushed skin look. Now if you know me, I was created with a double dose of rosy. A lot of my makeup tutorials I speak about muting a high color complexion. But a lot of you guys and even some of my family and friends say to me, I feel a little bit sallow and I feel a little bit grey. What kind of makeup will make me look more alive? And that's exactly what this video is about. It's also a look that you can achieve in under 10 minutes, so great for work or every day. Let's do this. Personally, when I'm time poor, primer is the first thing to go, so let's just get cracking onto the foundation. This is the Clinique Beyond Perfecting Foundation. I had heard so much about this foundation on the interwebs, and I totally get the hype. This is one of those people-pleasing formulas, right? It tends to mesh well with many different skin types. So it's not particularly matte, it's not particularly dewy, it's like a nice satin, and the coverage is pretty epic. So much so that it's marketed as both a foundation and or a concealer. But that's not to say that you can't achieve an uber natural effect with a product like this. I'm using a dense brush here and really buffing the product into the skin. So we are getting the thinnest layer possible and you can barely tell I'm wearing foundation at all. And that's kind of the idea, am I right? If you saw my revisiting cult classic makeup video, you'll know that I have rediscovered my MAC Pro Longwear. I'm just so happy to have this back in my life. It's kind of interesting because a lot of full coverage concealers can look a little bit stark on an otherwise natural face, but I find that if I use my fingers just to pat on a little bit of Pro Longwear, it looks like maybe I had my 8+ hours of sleep last night, and spoiler, I did not. Before I go in with any powder, let's cream highlight. This Chubby stick is what I would describe as a fine and sophisticated reflect. So this is not a blinding highlight, it's more of a believable and healthy glow. If you're concerned about your highlight picking up on areas of textured skin or enlarged pores or fine lines perhaps, then a more muted highlight formula like this is going to be much more forgiving. You guys know how I can get about powder. I just have exceedingly high expectations, and the Peach Perfect powder gets the Karima stamp of approval. It's so finely milled that it just sort of melts into the skin, and it does have actually a slight peachy tinge. So if you have a bit of a grey or bluey shadow under the eyes, it operates as like low-key color correcting maybe. Let's get down to business. I said it was a rosy tutorial, let's get rosy. I'm using the Clinique Cheek Pop. This is actually one of those gel powder hybrid formulas. So it's quite sheer at first, and then you can build the color slowly, which is always my preference. And you can't actually see any powder product on the skin. Since this is all about looking healthy and youthful, I'm using quite a large blush placement. So dusting on the apples of the cheek, but also on the larger cheek area, so closer to the nose and all the way up the cheekbones. You might also want to sweep some color across the bridge and tip of the nose and onto the temples, which sounds like a funny thing to do, but if you think about it, when we flush naturally, it's not just the cheeks that flush. You tend to flush a little bit all over, and that's what we're mimicking here. Maybe this is going to be controversial, but I do love a monochromatic rosy moment. So I'm dusting a peachy pink eyeshadow over the entirety of the eye. So on the lid, in the crease, lower lash line, all over. This is a one and done eyeshadow look. I can already see that some of you are not convinced about this pink eyeshadow idea. It doesn't have to be as strong of a color as I've selected here. You could do like a pale pink shimmer or maybe a soft pastel blush hue. Anything that kind of gives a bit of a nod to that flushed skin. Let's do some super speedy liner. Just gonna smudge some pencil into the base of the lashes. This will also help to separate that pink eyeshadow from the whites of the eyes and will make the whites of the eyes look clearer. So oftentimes with really simple eyeshadow looks like this one and done eye looks, I like to employ a technique that I call dots on the lower lash line technique. Is exactly how it sounds. It's essentially a series of dots on the lower lash line, which looks kind of a little bit silly, but once the mascara goes on, it just makes the lower lashes look really prominent and you get a bit of a doll-eyed effect. It's just a really easy and really quick way to make a simple eye a little more spunky. I've never used that word spunky. Now it's part of my vocab. Bronzer is totally optional. I just wanted to show you this bronzer that I've been loving recently. There are some pink and peach portions in the pan, and that translates to a bronzer that has a bit of a rosy undertone, so it adds to our healthy and flush complexion. It's perfect for this look. It's going to hit the temples, cheekbones, touch on the neck. Yeah, I just wanted to tell you that I love this product. Moving on. This might shock you, but today I am going for a fluffy and feathery brow. What can I say? I'm full of surprises. I have raved about this Clinique pencil before. The color is perfect. It's got a slight green tinge. And that's actually something you see a lot in Japanese brow products. It stops the pencil from turning red or orangey in the brows. And then I'm going to brush my brows up with some soap to give me that fluffy texture that I'm always craving. If you're thinking, why on earth would somebody put soap in their brows? I have a video all about that. I'll link it on the screen. I want a rosy stained effect on the lips. So I'm using a Chubby stick in a shade that closely matches the blush that I used and really focusing the product on the innermost portion of the mouth. And then I'm going to use a clean finger to tap out the lip line. This is kind of like that Korean gradient lip trend, right? Except much less fussy. It took me like 30 seconds. Finishing touches, I felt like something was just a little missing from the eyes, and 10 times out of 10, a strategically placed highlight is the solution to any concern you may have in your life. So I added some of that cream highlight to the ball of the eyelid, and that hit the spot absolutely perfect. Also, I'm thinking that the cheeks could be a bit rosier, so I'm applying a touch more blush. You could go quite editorial with this, right, and go super rosy dolly cheeks. But for this video, we're doing a more wearable take. And that's it, you're done. I absolutely love the simplicity of this look and those rosy monochromatic vibes. You could also do this in maybe like a peach scheme or a coral scheme. How pretty would that be? If you want to see a little bit more of this mug, then you should come say hello to me on Instagram at Karima McKimmie. I hope you are having a wonderful day, whatever it is that you're up to, and I shall speak to you all very soon. Bye.